Death on the Nile was directed by Kenneth Branagh and is the sequel to The Murder on the Orient Express, which was itself sort of a remake, but also just an adaptation of Agatha Christie's work, as is this film. And it once again sees Hercule Poirot investigating pretty much what the title says. A bunch of famous folks are on a boat, and one of them dies. Before we continue with the review, I want to give a very special thank you to the sponsor for this video, Shudder. Shudder is a premium streaming service with the best selection of horror, thriller, and supernatural movies and series, uncut and commercial-free, from Hollywood favorites and cult classics to original series and critically acclaimed new films you won't find anywhere else. Such as the new film They Live in the Gray, which stars Michelle Krusiek as a young social worker who discovers that a supernatural entity is tormenting a family she's investigating. It's written and directed by the Vang brothers. And I thought the film did a very good job of using a surrealistic, dreamlike quality to get its scares across to the audience. It also takes its time with its characters and really lets everybody have a lot of moments that make them feel like living, breathing people. Check it out, it's streaming on Shudder right now. What I like about Shudder is that they have a wide selection of new and old. Their new TV show, A Discovery of Witches with Teresa Palmer, is quite entertaining, but they also have a lot of cult favorite films that aren't really available anywhere else. So sign up for Shudder to watch They Live in the Gray and so much more, including Season 3 of Discovery of Witches and the critically acclaimed film Hellbender. So click the link in the description below and use the code Stuckmann30 for a free 30-day trial. And you can find links for that in the description below. Thanks so much to Shudder for sponsoring this video. Let's keep talking about Death on the Nile. I don't think anybody really hates Murder on the Orient Express, but I definitely think it was kind of modestly received. I enjoyed it more than most people, but I also have a tendency to really like murder mysteries. I love old-fashioned ones. I used to watch a lot of the old PBS and BBC shows when I was a kid. My mom would watch them a lot too. I remember renting the Sherlock Holmes Hound of the Baskervilles tape from the library all the time. And they don't make enough of them, and when they do, it tends to be some kind of IP. One of the reasons I loved Knives Out so much. It was a new, original murder mystery and a new, original detective, and I'm excited for the second and third one. So the fact that Death on the Nile exists, I'm already going to go in with like a bunch of pluses that most people might not care about, because I love seeing movies like this in the theater with a ton of money thrown at the screen. It's produced by Ridley Scott. Clearly they are trying to make an old-fashioned movie that feels like old-fashioned Hollywood, and I think for the most part they succeeded. It's not quite as interesting as the first film, although both of them share something that I love. There's a sense of claustrophobia. Obviously, both stories feature all of the suspects trapped within a moving vehicle, and they can't really go anywhere. And like most classic murder mysteries, just about everyone could be a potential suspect. You don't want to rule anyone out, but you can find motive in just about every character for why they may or may not have killed this person. Kenneth Branagh is really, really good as Hercule Poirot. Like, fantastic, actually. Surprisingly, like shockingly good in this role. It also has a very, very surprisingly emotional opening that I truly did not expect. I was like, did I just walk into Belfast? Did I accidentally see the beginning of Belfast? Most of the actors are very strong in the movie. There's a few performances that I think are a bit over the top, but nothing where I'm like going to pinpoint it or, like make a big show of it. I think that for the most part, the acting is great. The best part of the film is the directing. Branagh makes a gorgeous looking movie and really does amazing work with some incredible sets, and there's a few times when the green screen is particularly noticeable in one scene when they're all looking at the pyramids, but for the most part, this movie looks amazing. And it just evokes a feeling of incredible nostalgia within me for stories like this that we just don't get to see that much, and I'm always going to feel just a little warm and tingly when I see a really good murder mystery. Death on the Nile is not a great one. It's not even necessarily maybe as good as Murder on the Orient Express, and so if you didn't really like that movie that much, you probably won't like this one either. And all of the things I mentioned earlier about how old-fashioned it is, how it feels like a movie you don't see that much, and how it has all of those classical elements, could also be seen as a detriment to the film, because you might feel that that's very predictable and you might be able to see things ahead of time or feel like you've seen the movie before just in a different way. Of course, you can pretty much do that with almost any movie, especially big budget films, but especially with genre films like this that have their place and that have been so established by such iconic stories in the past, whether it's something like Sherlock Holmes or something that Agatha Christie would have written. It's tough to feel as if you're watching something new, but it's not really the point. The point of this movie seems to be to feel as if it is a lavishly old Hollywood movie that features beautiful people in incredible outfits, dresses, and suits, sailing the Nile on an extremely expensive boat, while a man with an epic mustache tries to figure out which one of them killed somebody. You get exactly what the trailers sell you when you go to this movie. You know the movie you're going to get, and it delivers. Surprises? I kind of figured out what was going on. I didn't know the original story. I think there's a shot that lingers just a bit too long. I won't spoil it, but there's a shot that I was like, oh yeah, he left that for just a couple extra frames, didn't he? Because he wanted it to stick in my memory. And I think that was a slight betrayal of his confidence in the audience, to remember something without having to have something linger for too long. And I think he did. And to me, that telegraphed the whole thing. But I still enjoyed the movie. And there were surprises to be had. There were things I didn't expect. There was some escalation that took me off guard. And I can't help but like this character so much as portrayed by Branagh. He's very entertaining and funny, with a penchant for liking desserts and making random off-the-cuff remarks about how he accuses everyone of murder. And it could very much so come down to just the fact that I wish more films like this existed. And not just like murder mysteries in general, but films of this budget with this kind of cast that aren't necessarily about superheroes or, a massive IP. Yes, of course, this is technically an IP and it's based off of something else, but it's just not quite the same. The type of money that's being thrown at something like this, and seeing money like that thrown at a filmmaker like Branagh, who has made movies like Thor, but also makes movies like Belfast. And so I just like that somebody like that is still operating in the Hollywood system and trying to make things that are entertaining for a large audience, while also being, for the most part, fairly respectful of that audience. So check out Death on the Nile if you haven't already. It's a modestly enjoyable theater experience. Guys, thank you so much, as always, for watching. Look forward to more videos very soon. And if you like this, you can click right here and get Stuckmanized.